Greetings, welcome. Thanks for joining me, astrologer Patrick Arundell, for the latest of my deep dive videos. Today I'm going to share with you the Sagittarius Full Moon of the 11th of June worldwide, which provides a backdrop for the next 2 weeks. That backdrop of energy we know with full moons can create a heightened emotion, greater intensity, feelings closer to the surface. And the sign of Sagittarius is essentially about higher truths, freedom, can be outspoken. What is this particular Sagittarius full moon going to hold in store for us? I'm going to unpack all of this for you, share the exact timings of all the major cities of the world, the event chart from a zodiac solar perspective, but also from a natal perspective, based on the prime meridian, Greenwich and universal, because I feel we can all collectively relate to that, and that has an ascendant in Leo, which is ruled by the sun. The sun is very much at the heart of all our existences, but the moon is about our need to feel at ease, feel comfortable, but they're actually opposing one another with a full moon. So it's a test. And if we go back to when the equation begins, it's with the new moon, the glorious new moon of the 27th of May. So that's really what we're seeing the outcome of now. But unless we dive deep and see where all the planetary influences are interacting, it's actually a little bit superficial, if I'm honest, to talk about full moons, a strawberry full moon in this case, because we only get essentially a very light and not really very detailed understanding. For example, the ruler of the sign of Sagittarius is Jupiter, and that's strongly conflicted on this event. So I'm going to go through all of this for you. Thank you so much for joining me. It really is appreciated. All your views, interactions, comments, likes, shares, thank you. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, as I've been sharing recently once more, about 50% of people who regularly watch me are not subscribers. Please help the channel to thrive if that's you. Click that sub button, but also the bell notification symbol. Now, just briefly, my new website is really taking shape. Please join us at patrickarundell.com. You can check out my stunning 3 card tarot. You can use it as many times as you want. It really is brilliant. Also, you can get your free daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, general, love and Vedic horoscopes. Download a fantastic free natal chart. There's lots of new information on this site, and it's at patrickarundell.com. And just to say, it does humble me constantly, the comments and feedback I get from one-to-ones. If you'd like to chat with me directly, please see my testimonials below. So this event occurs at 20 degrees and 38 minutes on the 11th of June. So on the screen now is all those timings for the major cities of the world. In terms of the event, a Sagittarius full moon is really our desire to find a higher meaning. Sagittarius, like the sun in Gemini, of course, is a mutable sign, so it's changeable, but it does need to feel it can say as it wishes. So any constraints can seem very frustrating. So it could be over the next 2 weeks that we want to do something more physical, like give ourselves more room or space, get into the great outdoor, suddenly go on a last minute journey, be much more spontaneous and off the cuff. Why not? But that new moon of the 27th of May was actually stunning. Because Mercury was domiciled in Gemini, very close to the unified sun and the moon, linking back to Pluto in the air sign of Aquarius, despite its retrograde, that gave us a chance to understand in our thinking and our discussions about how we're all connected. Pluto, the sign of Aquarius, is very much about humanity, and there's been a lot. We've been talking about all sorts of things. Social media is ablaze. We could say in a way that the modern world we live in is very Gemini-like. Quick, fast, opinions shared. But the sign of Sagittarius at its best because every sign has its polarity of its lower energy and higher manifestation. Sagittarius at its best is the truth. It can be about philosophies, it can be about the rule of law. But what makes this particular event really intriguing is the ruler of the sign of Sagittarius is being hit on in a square by not just Saturn but also Neptune. And of course Jupiter also rules the sign of Pisces, which Neptune is the modern ruler of. So the two rulers of Pisces, which is very emotional, are in conflict with the strict limiting energy of Saturn. So in the event chart, based on the prime meridian, on Greenwich, universal time, the ascendant is in Leo at 7 degrees and 49, but intriguingly on the screen now, Saturn is in house 9. That has an echo of the energy of Sagittarius. So we could find that our desire to have our voice, our opinion to be heard, to have fairness is limited. So that is really the nub of this event over the next couple of weeks, because Saturn moving into Aries, as it did on the 25th of May, is a much more assertive posture. It's a much more masculine posture. It's much more, it's in its fall, of course. It can be about suppression. And because it is squaring off Jupiter, the planet of higher truths, in the sign of Cancer, that's an emotional position. We just need to be mindful of that. So if we're thinking about this event, we could talk about strawberry moons. We could talk about how full moons make us feel a little bit sort of edgy. We find it more difficult to sit still because of the mutability, but we really have to drill down, as I'm doing now. For example, Venus forges a delicious link with Mercury, but Mercury forges a challenging link with Neptune. So the potential for distortion and untruths is very, very strong on this event, but charisma, the Leo ascendant, and the fact that the exact position of the moon just nibbled into that third decan suggests that charisma can be used to showcase particular ideas or philosophies, Sagittarius, but we need to be mindful of how this is going to affect us emotionally, because that's what the moon's about. It's about feeling safe and secure. So if we're feeling bombarded by people's viewpoints, ideas, let's take some time off from the internet. Let's check out of those forums, those debates, if it's not working for us. Create some space, some distance. Or if something's going on to us that's manifestly unfair, push back, but push back firmly, because that's going to be important to do for some people in order to defend their reputation. Now, in terms of the house that the sun and the moon in, you can see that the moon's in house 5, again, very Leonian. You can't make it up, can you? It's just incredible. And the sun's in the 11th house, very much about the collective, but the 5th house is about us in terms of our personal identity and the expression of our needs as individuals. So on the screen now, I'm showing the solar event chart, which explains things a little bit more straightforwardly. So obviously the moon's in house 9, sun in 3, but let's just look at the position of Saturn. That's about our bodies, the first house. It's about our individual purpose. We have Neptune there on top of Saturn. I can assure you that through to the end of August, we all need to take care of our health as best we can in terms of using whatever energy we have wisely, eking it out. But there's Jupiter and Mercury in a square with both Saturn and Neptune in the 4th house, that emotional energy that we think is very much about the moon. So to summarise, in terms of the event natally, it's presented to us as being a warm affair because of the ascendant in Leo. The host, the moon, is in the sign of Sagittarius, but in the 5th house, very redolent of the sun, Leo energy. But Saturn, the mischief maker, is in house 9, very Sagittarius, so that suggests we're going to feel some control or limitation. It could be in terms of the rules and regulations of our country, it could be how our freedoms are limited. It could be how the use of law enforcement is impacted upon citizens because of the 11th house energy of the Sun, Jupiter and Mercury. It's all about how we're all connected to one another. So I hope that makes sense to you. So I'm now going to go through each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces, but I do try to be very truthful in the way I do these, because recently within my YouTube feed there's been a few videos coming up for Jupiter astrologers talking about Jupiter, and seeing all these titles like Amazing Luck, Jupiter's Exalted, blah de blah. And as Jupiter arrives in the sign of Cancer, or as it did, it's squaring with Saturn. Now that's a very profound square. It becomes exact on the 15th. It's the fourth in a year, the first between these two signs, but it's a 10-year event. We need to be talking about the grittier side of things, not just the flowery potential. The potential is there, and we do always need to have hope, particularly with Jupiter in the mix. But because we're talking about a Sagittarius full moon here, in order to help you to navigate this in a more real way, you can download underneath this video my free moon cycle worksheet for June. So specific for June this year, helping you to understand both this full moon but also the upcoming Cancer new moon. Because that Cancer new moon, although it is going to be blessed by Mars, it will be conflicted by Saturn still. So Saturn, we know, can be a challenging influence. It's not a walk in the park. So I try to be sincere. I try to keep it real. But I also understand that we all need to feel that better things can come, because the world is a challenging place and hope is an important part of that ingredient. But please stay with me, because I do try to be genuine, and that is who I want to be, and I would just find it very difficult to not be sincere with you. Here goes with those zodiac forecasts for each of the 12 signs. So Aries, your Sagittarius full moon forecast for the next 2 weeks is going to see you more outspoken, but particularly around a financial matter if you feel that someone is being unfair. This could be around a review on your income, it could be around a contract, it may be around the cost of something you want to buy, it may be around a holiday or a travel plan. But if you feel someone's playing fast and loose with the truth, you're going to be very, very assertive, and good for you if so. So you may find yourself being much more emotional, which is obviously a very moon influence, if you do encounter someone who isn't really playing it fair. And why not? You know, I feel that you've had to show a lot of patience this year. There's been so much psychological energy which has been impacting on your spirits, your vitality, your enthusiasm. But I think you've got to the point now that if you need to be direct, you will be direct, but particularly if someone isn't being honourable. But something else you may find yourself doing is actually being a bit more impulsive about your resources. So if you are someone who's interested in cryptocurrencies or some other new form of income, with Uranus and Mars, your ruler, in a square, you may find yourself in the mood to be speculative. But what I would say to you is make very sure that you don't risk anything you can't afford to lose. And you do take some soundings from some people around you, because although Saturn is going to slow down that part of you that can dive into situations, there's enough energy around this event to still arouse that part of you that can be quite fearless and just dive in. But just take a breath, just assess the emotional dimension. But certainly if someone tries to challenge you in a way where they're being pretty free and easy with the truth, you're not going to take it at all. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com for your free daily, weekly, monthly, yearly written general love and Vedic horoscopes, and my amazing free tarot, which you can use as many times as you want. You can also download beneath this video your free June lunar worksheet. So Taurus, over the next 2 weeks, don't be surprised if you're thinking about the ins and outgoings in terms of your finances, where you might make some savings, maybe be a little bit cannier with your resources in some ways, squeeze a bit more from your long-term assets. That's the position of the moon. But if you are in a situation where you share finances or resources, you're wanting to see that the other side is as committed and invested as you. And if they're not, it could cause some resentment. Despite the fact that Venus, your ruler, is back in your sign and forging a charming link with Mercury, there's a psychological energy manifesting at the present time in your chart. And if you do feel that someone's not being upfront, suddenly a sense of unhappiness can really come up, and you may tell it as it is. But it might be a conversation that's for the best if someone has been taking your goodwill, your generosity, or even your money for granted. So it's a good time to be a bit firmer around your boundaries in terms of the ins and outs around money, but also what you share with other people. But the 8th house can also be about intimacy. And if you're in a relationship which doesn't feel that the other person is as all in as you are, that is something else that could see you thinking very carefully about what to do next. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com for your free daily, weekly, monthly, yearly written general love and Vedic horoscopes, and my amazing free tarot, which you can use as many times as you want. You can also download beneath this video your free June lunar worksheet. Gemini, the new moon in your sign of 2 weeks ago was a fabulous opportunity to embark on something fresh and new, or to add extra energy and determination to an ongoing strand. And you could still make enormous progress over the next couple of weeks, because Mars, the planet of passion, is in a part of your chart that is to do with the expression of ideas in a fast but also assertive way. Just be conscious, however, that because Uranus is in your 12th house, along with the planet of relating Venus, which is conflicted by Pluto, something could still come up and into the open over this next fortnight, which could surprise you. So just be prepared that maybe someone sees what you're doing differently to you, or has an agenda about you which is not quite as you would like, but it may still be there. So however much you're charging forwards, someone could feel a bit left out, maybe have a judgment, or there could be an old issue that is about to come back into play. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com for your free daily, weekly, monthly, yearly written general love and Vedic horoscopes, and my amazing free tarot, which you can use as many times as you want. You can also download beneath this video your free June lunar worksheet. So Cancer, for you, each year begins with the summer solstice. That's your point of initiation, when you can bring fresh energy in and excitement. Now, you're getting an early opportunity because of Jupiter, the planet of hope and optimism, having made his way into your sign. But essentially, each year when the sun makes its way through Gemini, it's a time when you're reviewing what's gone on since the previous summer solstice. You can feel more tender, a little bit more reclusive, sometimes very much more sensitive. In a very positive way, it's a great opportunity for healing. However, what the full moon does in Sagittarius is almost push you to stay in touch with the more practical domain. And so the things that maybe take a lot of physical effort, whether it's maintaining routines, organisation, doing our jobs effectively and efficiently, don't have quite the same appeal. So what the full moon can do in the 6th house is show up areas that drain us. Drain us because our enthusiasm's not really in them. We're not emotionally invested. And that's essentially what the Sagittarius full moon represents for you each year. Now this year, because Jupiter is in your sign, it's making you more mindful of how you may use your individual decision making to perhaps change the situation you're currently in. It's just that Jupiter's conflicted by Saturn in the part of your chart to do with your connection to the world. So whether it's the expectations of parents, bosses, perhaps the demands of your job in the professional context, but it's the individual elements that's highlighted by the full moon. So I feel if you are feeling drained, lower in vitality, not enjoying what you're doing at the moment on this particular year, because Mercury, along with Jupiter in your sign, is linking back to Venus in your sector of connections to others, you may find yourself reaching out to like-minded souls, thinking about how you might actually push forwards as you go forwards, but it will require the potential for change. Now, once we have this year's summer solstice on the 21st, followed by the new moon in your sign on the 24th, which actually picks up energy from Mars this year, you're going to be moving forwards very, very much more dynamically. But I feel if you're not enjoying any area of your life and it is swallowing your vitality, that's what you need to be grappling with at the present time. Don't just go with it. Try to find ways that you can take steps to change the paradigm so you feel more in control of the process. But if you work in an environment, for example, where you don't like the people, it tends to be a bit bitchy, backbiting, it's very political, or it's in an organisation where you don't really feel proud to work for them, you need to think again that this year you have Jupiter there to give you the courage to take a firmer grip on what you want to do, and Jupiter is impacting right through the rest of this month in a very dynamic way for you. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com for your free daily, weekly, monthly, yearly written general love and Vedic horoscopes, and my amazing free tarot, which you can use as many times as you want. You can also download beneath this video your free June lunar worksheet. Leo, if you do feel you've been deflected by the demands of others, perhaps not in a bad way, just simply because your friendships, perhaps your social situation or interest, if that has deflected on what you're wanting as an individual, this full moon's asking you to be more mindful of it. Because you've had both Jupiter and Mercury move into a more thoughtful part of your chart, they're also teasing into the back of your mind perhaps a need to be more in touch with a deeper part of your nature. But Mars does continue in your sign and is in a harsh right angle with Uranus. So if you're in a work situation, for example, where you just don't feel that your talent gets a chance to really shine through, any frustration you've got about that could really manifest itself very powerfully over the next 2 weeks, all the way to perhaps pushing you to make a decisive decision on what to do. So for some lions, I think that could be looking for a new position. But most of all, what you do need to invest in over the next fortnight is expressing your individual flair, talent and artistry. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com for your free daily, weekly, monthly, yearly written general love and Vedic horoscopes, and my amazing free tarot, which you can use as many times as you want. You can also download beneath this video your free June lunar worksheet. So Virgo, the Sagittarius full moon each year, is always an opportunity to check out where you are in terms of your professional or worldly connections, in terms of how it feels. But the sign of Sagittarius can be a bit reluctant to get into that. It would rather do something different, change the subject, perhaps be, in an unintentional way, a little bit evasive. But this year, there's so much other planetary activity feeding into this event. We need to be particularly mindful of your ruler Mercury. It's actually in a very friendly relationship with the position of Jupiter. So if you work with people, for example, where you do have a good rapport, and you do feel recognised and rewarded, I feel that this event could pass off a little bit easier than you might imagine. If, however, you're in a situation where there's not much camaraderie, where it does seem there's quite a lot of expectation, perhaps you do feel a little bit hemmed in, you're not feeling personally satisfied with work at the present time, it may be time for a big rethink over the next couple of weeks. But because Mars is in an unsettled relationship with Uranus, if it's a little bit more challenging where you are, you may feel much more compelled to try to look for a new way of earning a living, or perhaps think about working for yourself, which frees you up, because essentially you're someone who has a big appreciation of regularity in your life. But you're heading into a period of your life now where being open to new and fresh ways of doing things is going to become more of a theme, particularly when Uranus lands in your 10th solar house on the 7th of July for an initial 5 months. So if you do find yourself thinking about or checking out some new options professionally, don't be surprised over this next 2 weeks. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com for your free daily, weekly, monthly, yearly written general love and Vedic horoscopes, and my amazing free tarot, which you can use as many times as you want. You can also download beneath this video your free June lunar worksheet. So Libra, each year the Sagittarius Full Moon for you represents a conversation, a discussion. It can be to do with travel, it can also be to do with learning things or training people. But essentially the moon is how we feel. But the third house is a very quick moving mental energy, even though the host is the expansive Sagittarius. So it's easy to have conversations and not actually really get at what the true depth of a situation is about. But in terms of relationships, with Saturn and Neptune now combined in your 7th house, but particularly professional relationships, if you feel that you're being perhaps fobbed off, or discussions are going through the motions and not really gaining traction, that could create quite a lot of frustration for you, to be honest. And your ruler Venus is in a part of your situation that's wanting to see some tangible benefits. It's in Taurus, the other sign that Venus rules. In a love relationship, if there's someone dancing around you, perhaps online at the moment, that you're finding very hard to resist, it wouldn't be a surprise with Venus in a square with the position of Pluto. But I feel that unless the messages you get or the contracts you tie down feel really secure and firm, just give yourself a little bit of latitude, because things could be quite evolving over the next couple of weeks, and your ability to flex and not set too many expectations is probably going to be quite the asset. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com for your free daily, weekly, monthly, yearly written general love and Vedic horoscopes, and my amazing free tarot, which you can use as many times as you want. You can also download beneath this video your free June lunar worksheet. So Scorpio, this year's Sagittarius full moon, as ever, can be about thinking about the ins and outgoings financially. The 2nd house, Sagittarius, everyday money. The 8th house position of the sun, very much about what's shared, where you're most invested, the longer term stuff. Now, because Saturn, the planet of seriousness, has moved into a very practical part of your chart, if you wanted to overview and review your expenditure, but also how you're bringing in money to your situation, then Saturn can make you very precise, which could be a benefit. But Jupiter and Mercury are in a very enterprising part of your situation. So if you are wanting to try something new, do be open to it, but I feel you will need to do some precise planning to really capitalise. Now, if you are wanting to do something very, very bold and different, and someone's showing up in quite an exciting way, if it's someone that you don't know very well, just know that your traditional ruler of Mars is in a very confident and assertive position at the moment, but it could also see you pushing a bit too hard to get your own way, perhaps around your personal situation, a romantic relationship, or even business-wise in its square with Uranus. So if you want stability, you'll probably steer clear of being too enterprising or too demanding for your rights or needs to be met. But at the same time, if you really want to seize a golden prize, it may mean that you do need to be somewhat more daring than ordinarily you may choose to be. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com for your free daily, weekly, monthly, yearly written general love and Vedic horoscopes, and my amazing free tarot, which you can use as many times as you want. You can also download beneath this video your free June lunar worksheet. Sagittarius, the full moon in your sign each year is almost always about relationships, because the sun is in the sector, the descendant of your chart, where you connect to people. The moon's how you see it as an individual. If you're not particularly happy in any kind of relationship, that could be something that you're much more conscious of over the next couple of weeks. But there are so many tricky aspects feeding into this year's particular event. It's probably not the best of times to be too impetuous. Your ruler Jupiter might be in a part of your chart that's great to be entrepreneurial, in a link with Mercury, but it is squared off by Saturn. So Saturn's in the part of your chart to do with romance and also to do with risk taking. So if you're wanting to collaborate with someone and you're not quite getting the messages back in the way that you would like, yes, that could prove frustrating, particularly with Mars in a part of your situation that's reminding you that freedom is something that's always rather evocative, but at the moment, perhaps just seeing how things play out might be better than making any instant decisions if you're not feeling particularly satisfied. But full moons can also have great benefits, and if there is someone that you're drawn to at the moment, you really want to take this a step forwards, then you can check that out in a powerful way over the next 2 weeks. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com for your free daily, weekly, monthly, yearly written general love and Vedic horoscopes, and my amazing free tarot, which you can use as many times as you want. You can also download beneath this video your free June lunar worksheet. So Capricorn, for you, the full moon in Sagittarius is in your 12th house. It could bring up some complexes, some sensitive issues over the next fortnight. You may even become more conscious of who's not necessarily got your back. If there are some politics in the family, I feel those could show up now. Perhaps things that have been avoided for some years, things that have been swept under the proverbial carpet, may have a habit of coming out, but it could be because you take the lead. You're wanting to have a more proactive approach to how you relate to people because of Jupiter and Mercury being in your 7th house. But it also, because of the role of your ruler Saturn, could see you just being a bit bolder about saying how you feel, when perhaps in the past you may have just thought, well, you know, that's the way it is, but it may not have been a very satisfactory situation. So if you've been putting up with something silently for a long time that isn't very fair, I think you could find your voice over the next couple of weeks. But when it comes to your professional situation, particularly with Mars making its way still through the 8th house, what you're wanting there, you're wanting to feel recognised in a financial context. And if it feels that other people get favoured, or you're not considered for particular roles or promotions, I think your desire to feel much more seen and heard is going to be very strong in the weeks and months going forwards. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com for your free daily, weekly, monthly, yearly written general love and Vedic horoscopes, and my amazing free tarot, which you can use as many times as you want. You can also download beneath this video your free June lunar worksheet. So Aquarius, the Sagittarius full moon each year is always a time to consider a part of your nature which is very important, and that's your idealism. Because the 11th house is where we get in touch with our higher purpose that goes beyond the material plane. But also it's where we connect to others, our network, our friendships, the societies, groups, the teams we support. On the other side of the heavens, the sun's asking you to invest in what makes you individually brilliant. So it's a bit of a juggle that happens each year. But this year, I feel that your passion and your higher purpose is going to be tested by some more practical dimensions. The node, for example, in the second house of everyday money, but Saturn, your traditional ruler, and Neptune in the third house, how you think, are linking to Jupiter and Mercury in the sixth, and that can create quite a lot of brittleness. So you could find yourself being, however much you want to see the best in people, however much you want to see the big picture, however much you want to support your friends, there may be some immediate demands, maybe around where you live, your family situation, your practical sphere in terms of health and energy, that you will need to prioritise on this particular year's event. It doesn't mean to say that you can't keep the link with those situations that are important, but I feel that you may need to be a bit more single-minded about the internal parts of your world on this year's event. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com for your free daily, weekly, monthly, yearly written general love and Vedic horoscopes, and my amazing free tarot, which you can use as many times as you want. You can also download beneath this video your free June lunar worksheet. So Pisces, the sun's in the part of your chart to do with home, emotion, family, your inner world. The moon, however, is opposite in the most visible part of your situation, which can be to do with being mindful of being protective and nurturing towards parents who are older, if you've got kids, being a leader there, or perhaps it's to do with professional demands, because at the moment with the sun in the fourth house, that can be a time when you need to be a bit more sheltered. Now you've had your traditional ruler Jupiter in the fourth house for just over a year. It's just left, of course, but that's clashing with Saturn in your second house. So even if you wanted to change something, this is perhaps not the best of times to, for example, if you want to change something around your home, to make a snap decision. But I think generally, particularly with Uranus moving into your fourth house on the 7th of July for 5 months, if you're not feeling very settled where you live, that's likely to become more of a trend. So this particular 4-10 polar axis may see you thinking a lot more about where you live, how you live there, and who with, or even about your professional situation in terms of, do you feel particularly comfortable? Is it somewhere that you feel at ease? Your environment is going to be important to you, even more important than it has been recently over the next couple of weeks. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com for your free daily, weekly, monthly, yearly written general love and Vedic horoscopes, and my amazing free tarot, which you can use as many times as you want. You can also download beneath this video your free June lunar worksheet.